I recently read a book called The Metaverse by Matthew Ball on, of course, the topic of the metaverse. Just trying to familiarize myself with it, get a better understanding of what exactly it might look like, what companies are doing to try to get involved in it, and what that really might mean for humanity. And I've been reflecting on this a lot since reading Heidegger's Question Concerning Technology. Having a good understanding of what he meant by the essence of technology and the danger inherent therein, the danger that man faces when he becomes entrenched in technology, when he becomes involved in the loop of technological progress and technological revealing. And that danger, of course, is that he might lose his own essence. He might lose connection to the true essence of man, as well as alternate ways of revealing. For those of you who are interested, you can watch my previous video on Martin Heidegger's essay, The Question Concerning Technology, where I go through the entire essay and I basically explain my understanding of his analysis, the essence of modern technology. And so I was reading about the metaverse. Of course, Facebook, Meta, Microsoft, a number of other big tech companies, they're all sort of focused on this new sort of frontier called the metaverse. And one of the things that sort of come to mind about the metaverse to me is the way in which it might influence our understanding of politics and political communities. Because if it's true that in the future more and more people are going to be spending large amounts of their time not only online but also in these virtual communities, and in fact these virtual communities are going to get increasingly lifelike to the point where they can simulate, or they appear to simulate, much of the natural environment, then it stands to reason that over time these the metaverse meeting spaces themselves would become nodes of political activity, similar to the way things like Discord groups, Facebook, not Facebook groups, but I guess Facebook groups as well, but also Twitter group chats and other things like these are also nodes of political activity. The interesting thing about the metaverse, of course, is that because it's entirely virtual, you would have a metaverse space which is not tied to any kind of geographic location. Again, much like existing social networks and other communication services. And so when I think about what that means for your political community, one of the core aspects of a political community that Tocqueville talks about in Democracy of America is, of course, the fact that you're spending not only a lot of time with these people that you're around, but you also have, a web of relationships, a web of interdependencies between the people that you live around and yourself, the various social organizations and things like these that you belong to. And that sort of is the foundational building block of American democracy, of a lively democracy, right? Is that there's a sense in which we're in this together and there's interdependency there. And so we have to basically, negotiate with one another. We have to compromise, etc., in order to get along. And there's also a sense that whatever conclusions we come to may not be, the ideal conclusion for me as an individual, but it would be useful to our community as a whole. And so with people spending more and more time online, and especially these more immersive technologies, things like spatial audio, where I spend a good amount of my time on Clubhouse these days, Twitter Spaces as well, but also in the metaverse that's coming. What is that going to mean for our political community? Because it's not clear that you have the same level of interdependency with all these people that you interact with online in these spaces. I have friends who spend hours and hours of their lives, for example, on EVE Online. And that's where almost all of the people that they talk to on a regular basis, besides maybe their coworkers or their spouses, exist. But that's not really a political community. So I guess the question I just leave you with, and one thing you might want to think about is, does the metaverse fundamentally change aspects of human political organization and aspects of human political community? Could there be genuine political communities that arise out of this that are not explicitly tied to some sort of unifying ideology, some sort of universalist ideology, like communism or something like that, but actually are trying to make a genuine change in the world. I believe that one aspect that could come into play here is something like Balaji's concept of a network state, which I also talked about in my review of that book. You can check it out on this channel. But he could have talked, for example, more about something like the metaverse in his work on the network state. So those are my thoughts for today. If you have any opinions on this, please leave them down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.